Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm taking an in-depth look at Tua and the Miami Dolphins and how they've changed their scheme offensively to try and improve production. If you enjoy the video, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, really helps the channel to grow. Drop me a comment, let me know what you think about Tua and the Dolphins so far this season. Let's get into it. Okay, so Tua has come from a very RPO heavy system at Alabama. He didn't throw an awful lot of deep concepts and, long developing plays downfield, even though he had a really great O-line in front of him. A lot of the scheme that they played from was RPO based, three-step drops, getting the ball in and out of his hands really, really fast, which is what he's good at. He's a very good 1-2 read guy, not potentially scanning the whole field, but going through his first 1 to 2, sometimes even 3 progressions really, really nicely and delivering a quick ball, getting some quick yards down the field and letting his quick wide receivers, who are great at the yards after catch part, get downfield and make big plays for him. So that was what was a little baffling to me when I watched the Dolphins and how many deep developing concepts that they actually used with Tua in at quarterback, because it was literally going away from everything that had worked so well for Tua at Alabama. And we're just going to have a look at a couple of plays as to why it didn't work out and potentially why they did end up changing the scheme. So my biggest gripe with watching the scheme earlier on in the season was how predictable and, repeatable the Dolphins offense was. They came out of this trip look so often and there was such a lack of motion. Defenses could come out in such stock coverages and still defend all of the Miami Dolphins route concepts because it wasn't anything special. There was no motion to move their eyes away from what was actually happening on the play. The trips look came up so many times when watching the film. You can just prepare all week for that same sort of look and adjust really, really well for it. So here the Jaguars are just playing a simple Tampa 2. So all that means is that you've got the two high safeties over top and this middle linebacker is going to drop into a middle zone just in front of these safeties, essentially carrying any vertical route from the number 3, which in this case is Durham Smythe. And I'm just really not sure what Tua is seeing here. Smythe hasn't got any leverage inside, outside, over top on this middle linebacker. He's essentially running into a triangle of 3 guys dropping into coverage. He's got the middle linebacker plus the 2 safeties about to converge. I'm not sure what he's seeing, first of all, here. But secondly, look at the route concepts. There is absolutely nothing getting open in the time that Tua has to throw. The O-line is something that I will come on to, so, just bear with me. But there is absolutely nothing open for Tua here until extremely late in the down when that running back checks out into the flat. By this time, the pocket's already collapsing on him and he has to release something downfield. Okay, now this next play, yet again, trips. Okay, they motion in the number 1 wide receiver to be a bit closer to the other guys in trips here from right outside the numbers. But the Patriots are playing a cover 1 rat, and it's a really good call against this look because inevitably against the trips look, you're going to have some sort of route coming across the middle of the field. And this play is actually a mesh concept from the Dolphins. But barring these 2 underneath routes, there really isn't a lot for Tua to hit here. And cover 1 rat specifically takes away the majority of the reads that Tua wants to hit. You see here the M-man on the line of scrimmage for the Patriots is actually going to turn his hips and shoulders completely towards that receiver coming into him just to wall him off from the middle. He's the wrap defender. He's going to drop into just behind where the defensive line are, but he can see that there's a guy coming right across the middle on this mesh concept, so he just completely jams that route. The crossing route and the deep stop over the middle both end up in the same place, which is awful game planning, awful stuff schematically. And Tua has potentially 1 rail shot on the backside of this play, but that's not the progression. He has to look at the backside first, see if that's open before working to the front side of the play. So by the time that he's got his eyes back round to the front side of the play, all he's seeing is receivers getting jammed in front of him, nothing getting open. And as we know again, the O-line don't give him much time, ends up scrambling for his life and trying to force something downfield. Okay, now this play again. The Jags are just going to play Tampa 2. Dolphins are on the switch concept on the front side and then levels on the back side. So they're trying to take advantage of this split safety look and try and get the number 1 wide receiver splitting those 2 safeties and then let the initial number 2 wide receiver who's running that slot fade get down the sideline, and hopefully Tua will be able to pick out one of those 2 guys deep open down the field. But he looks off the dig first because he's not a massive fan of it. There's a line of 3 linebackers who are all waiting to stop him short of the first down marker, but the cornerback drops off with the number 2 wide receiver. Tua ends up trying to throw a ball 30 to 40 yards downfield with 2 DBs within 10 yards of both receivers, so it's easy for them to adjust. And you can say what you want about Tua not performing as well as he did at Alabama earlier in the season and what we saw of him a little bit earlier in his Dolphins career, but there are a lot of factors around him that weren't going in his favour. Like I said, you can say what you want about Tua's performance, but no NFL quarterback can have an illustrious career and perform to their fullest with this O-line. This play sort of summed it up for me when I was watching the Bills game back. I actually did a video on it earlier in the season, so I'll link that in the description. But the centre, the left guard and the right guard all converge on this nose tackle. The Bills are playing in an over front. They set that 3 tech to the strong side to where the boundary is. But here the Bills are in nickel, so they've got Teron Johnson, number 24, lined up on the edge. So all it means is that number 55's got a one-on-one against Austin Jackson, who actually does pretty well on this rep, but they just leave Teron Johnson completely unblocked on the outside, has a free run at Tua, and this is how you end up getting your franchise quarterback injured, missing time, out for weeks. It's just absolutely awful pass protection, and what actually might have been a decent developing play downfield on that post route was completely nullified. This play was actually laughable. Pass pro, as any coach will tell you, is not passive. You want your O-line to be aggressive, nasty, and hardened at the point of attack. Now just keep your eyes on Liam Eichenberg during this rep and how weak and soft it is, easy to push him over. He takes 3 or 4 steps in his kick step, but look how upright he is. That is an awful position for any O-lineman to be in. The edge gets really, really good leverage with that long arm move into the chest, and from there he just walks Eichenberg all the way back and ends up falling over. It's almost comical at this point, the amount of reps that I've seen Tua running for his life because of this O-line. Now, I just want to show you some adaptations and some new plays. I just want to show you some adaptations and better plays that the Dolphins have got in place that suit Tua's skill set and his readability so much better. So this is a perfect play against the Patriots. They start in a double stack look towards the boundary with the tight end in on the end of the line before motioning Waddle towards the other side of the field, and the Patriots playing 3 buzz match. So all it means is that they start with the 2 high safeties, one rolls down into the box, and they end up playing cover 3, but they're matching as well. So what that means in cover 3 match rules is that Adrian Phillips, number 21, is going to take anything vertical and out from that 2 wide receiver. So he sees Waddle go across to the sideline, so he widens, which opens that gap between him and the middle linebacker. So number 1 wide receiver is then going to sell vertical really, really hard to try and get that cornerback who's in the outside third zone to back off. And then all he does is plants hard off that left foot, drives into that window that's now been opened, and Tua fires a nice ball for a good completion and a first down. If this ball was a tiny bit further in front of the wide receiver, you could have even seen a touchdown on this play if he didn't have to jump for the ball and, sort of stop his momentum. But these are the plays where Tua's best. He takes a 3-step drop, sets, no unnecessary hitches, just gets the ball, gets it out as quick as he can at the top of his drop. It's a really simple concept. This was another perfect play from the Giants game over the weekend. So here they motion at Albert Wilson to the field side. And again, the Giants are playing a 3 buzz look this time, so that safety's going to roll down to the outside this time. And all Tua is going to do is read 1 to 2 towards his field side. So as this safety's rolling down, he can see him coming the whole way. When he looks into the flat, if the safety's hips are pointing in towards the slant from Waddle, he'll throw to the flat. If the safety's hips are flying straight towards number 2, Albert Wilson, as they are here, he knows that he's got enough of a cushion between the cornerback and Waddle to throw this slant route. So he keys in on the hips and the shoulders really, really quickly before pulling it and hitting Waddle over the middle for a huge gain. It's simple football. He can see as well pre-snap that this middle linebacker isn't going to have any effect on the play. And this RPO action from the running back takes all of those middle linebackers towards the boundary side anyway, so they're even further from where they're actually running the concept. It widens that linebacker and opens the space between him and the cornerback. And on the backside of this play, it's really clever. Instead of putting Devante Parker out on a route and giving Tua another read to potentially get to on the other side of the field, they've actually put him on a crack block, which means that all the line can block down inside to where the Giants defenders are, and then Devante Parker can block this guy coming off the backside of the play without Tua having to worry about how much time he's got in the pocket. And as long as Tua's got time, he'll find the man. Again, we've got another perfect RPO here that they implemented a few weeks ago, and this is actually going to be a wheel cross concept. Really, really clever. Miami Dolphins are potentially the most creative with their tight ends and how they scheme them open than any other team that I've watched, to be honest. So he sees this crosser from the boundary receiver and initially takes it. He turns his hips inwards and he gets lazy with his eyes. This was the fatal error that he made. He came in a little bit too much. But you see Tua sails hard on the RPO. His actions are exactly the same if he were to hand the ball off to when he pulls it and passes, which is really, really good for a quarterback. It makes it so hard for linebackers to tell when you're running and when you're passing. But the concept's amazing. So this receiver, number 1, is going to go on a cross. This tight end's going to release on a wheel. And because number 27 got lazy with his eyes and locked on for the crosser for too long, this wheel's going to get open down the sideline. But even if it didn't, even if number 27 covered this wheel, the tight end route is leaking out into the flat of the play, so Tua could hit him for maybe a 2-3 yard gain potentially. It's really, really nice. It's giving Tua nice triangle reads to be able to read down the field first to the cross, then onto the wheel, then onto that leak 1 to 2 to 3 without having to scan the whole field. Okay, and now one more RPO from the Giants game. One more adaptation to what we've seen from the previous scheme. I absolutely love this read progression from Tua. I spoke earlier about him not being a huge guy to scan the field from one side to the other. Helps reduce the time that he spends scanning, but gets him from one wide receiver to another quickly. Again, you're going to see that Albert Wilson motion from the boundary to the field side into this sort of stack look. Wilson's going to go into the flat. Very clear that the Giants are in cover 1 because that DB follows him the whole way across the field. So Tua puts his hands in front of him as if it's a run and then pulls it, so we know it's an RPO. Looks out to the flat, and he's got 2 wide receivers who are fairly close together, so it's easy for him to scan that really, really quickly. You can see that the DB's close in pursuit of Wilson. He's not going to be able to fire a throw off, so he passes on that. You can see that this time Waddle, who ran the slant route last time on this similar RPO, is more closely blanketed by the cornerback. But also look at how the Giants have adjusted where that middle linebacker is. He's a lot wider this time. He doesn't follow, he doesn't bite so much on the run action. He stays wider so that there's no way Tua can fit that slant in. So it's really nice. Tua flashes his eyes back over the middle, and Gesicki's got a really nice inside release, so he's able to fit a ball on the inside shoulder to him there. And you wouldn't be able to sell any of this without a half decent run game. Look at where the linebackers are. They're literally within 2-3 yards of where the line of scrimmage is. So yes, it doesn't break big on this play, on this RPO, but on another play it might be if Gesicki has 1 or 2 yards of separation from that DB. The only thing that could make this Dolphins offense better is a slightly better run game. They're dead last in the league on yards per rush attempt currently, but I am talking about, the passing offense and how it affects Tua, so I'm not going to spend, forever labouring over the point, but they have broken a couple of runs nice and open, especially against the Jets and that defense. But they have had a couple in recent weeks against the Giants and the Panthers too, which have also complemented that RPO game because the linebackers are so concerned about the run. They have to then commit a little bit more, couple of yards up towards the ball to get into their run fit, which opens up more space for those slants and stuff, as you saw to Waddle earlier. So if they can get that run game going just a little bit better, an extra 0.2, 0.3 yards per carry, and get it slowly going up, then they'll be even more of a threat on offense. But just to conclude, I think Tua is a decent quarterback. He's still got some flaws in his game that I'd like to see ironed out with, silly decisions and overthrows, that sort of thing. But we do have to remember this is a guy who hasn't even had 20 career starts yet. We have to reserve judgment a little bit and see how he pans out in the future. Miami's O-line needs to improve. You can't keep hiding the RPO game forever. As a way of keeping Tua clean, they have to draft well and just get better on the O-line. That run game has to improve the whole offense as a whole. But I'd just like to say a massive thanks to Dante Colonelli and Hassan Patel, who also helped me with a few pointers when I was going through this video and how the Dolphins offense was working in 2021. Thanks for making it to this stage of the video. If you enjoyed, smash the like and subscribe button. Really helps the channel to grow. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about the Dolphins and their new scheme. I'll see you in the next one.